Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 10. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for joining us today on this Wednesday, Steelers Nation. Dave, Steelers have a travel day today, preseason finale tomorrow. Roster cutdowns are right ahead of us. It's going to be a crazy couple of days here upcoming.
Boy, we go from you giving the final updates at training camp practices. Obviously, the preseason had already started in, but you got to admit these last 3 weeks have been kind of a whirlwind here, kind of like you thought it would. I mean, we've had plenty of tape to chew on. Obviously, coming off of that Sunday night preseason game against the Titans, and then this short week against the Panthers, we've been having to sleep fast and watch tape fast and get after that charting.
That's the worst.
Charting and how do you enjoy charting from that? One thing we didn't talk about the other day was the Skycam view. No, you know my thoughts on that. I absolutely love it because you get to see in real time the play develop, the coverage, the route combinations, and all like that. And I guess we have a slight edge because we already kind of know what to expect as far as who's probably out there, not so much focused on eyes on the ball as we are off of it. So that obviously plays in our favor. But I imagine with that kind of not having the TV view, it makes it a little bit tough on the charting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't the best for our defensive charting for everybody was lined up. I appreciate them going with a different view and seeing the routes, combinations and the safeties and all that is really nice. I almost wish in one sense they would go with almost a pure end zone angle the way that you get it on the old 22 because you don't always see the running lanes as easily with the top-down view that they showed in the broadcast. But yeah, I appreciate them trying to do something different, and I liked it personally.
I liked it, but I don't think, obviously it's not going, it's probably not going to stick. The masses were just complaining about it. And look, I understand. And look, I'm a creature of habit. I'm old school and all, but when it comes to tape and X's and O's, I want, we usually have to wait until Wednesday, to see a lot of these angles with the all 22, and that's frustrating. We can try to put pieces of the puzzle together on certain plays with our experience and all, as far as who did what, especially on pass plays and cornerbacks and safeties and coverages. But sometimes you just have to wait, until the all 22 and both the sky view and the end zone view we utilize quite a bit. So it is nice to have that in real time. I understand that the masses don't like it. I understand that we're probably years away from getting some sort of view where, we can watch it from whatever angle we choose, each individual chooses to. But I did enjoy it the other night.
I did too, Dave. Let's jump to the Steelers news of the day. The biggest news, a roster move made yesterday. I guess it isn't shocking in hindsight, though I really honestly wasn't anticipating it, but the Steelers waived injured cornerback Brian Allen and claimed cornerback Javonte Dean off of waivers. Allen has missed 2 of the 3 preseason games. Reportedly did not travel to Tennessee with an unknown injury. He'll clear waivers and go back to IR. Could be a release with an injury settlement at some point down the road. So Brian Allen, though he could go to IR, that essentially ends, in my opinion, his Steelers career.
Yeah, and I think it's an ankle, Alex.
Is it? Okay.
I think that's what Ray Fittipaldo reported yesterday was an ankle with him. And look, I mean, this was a guy that we knew probably wasn't going to make the 53, even if healthy. I had him kind of, maybe going to the practice squad, but obviously that's out now. He should clear waivers. He should land on, depending on the severity of the ankle injury. He should revert back to Steelers IR, whether or not he's there all season or not, depends on the severity of the injury. But yeah, I think we can about close the book now on Brian Allen. And The biggest thing we're talking about a conversion guy here, wide receiver to defensive back, cornerback. It just never translated for him. He always seemed a little bit stiff. Always seemed to tick slow. More of a gambler. Boy, he probably could have had three interceptions over the course of the last couple of preseasons, but just a tick late. And when you are tick late on that, and you don't get the interception on those. If the receiver catches the ball, well, then you've normally given up a play that's good for 10 or more yards, and that just seems to be the story of him. He was okay special teams player, wasn't a great special teams player, and it's just one of those 5th round cornerbacks that don't work out.
One career defensive snap as a Steeler. Yeah, a worthwhile flyer at the time. There was some optimism there, but the technique never really worked out, and it just kind of got progressively worse. And as his team brought in more and more secondary talent to really overhaul that group, no room for Allen, then the injury pushes him out. Javonte Dean's a really tall, lanky rookie corner from the U. Was with Cleveland, I think, previously. He might have bounced around a little bit. Picked off 3 passes last year and kind of limited action rotational guy, tied for the team lead there. Had a good pro day workout, ran in the 4.4s for being 6'1", 185. Obviously, he'll have a really tough chance, but maybe get some action late in Thursday's game. And I was an interesting guy when he came out. I mean, Miami had so many good secondary prospects this year. Tom Bradley was down there for the pro day, so it was a name that I remembered, but obviously his chances are going to be pretty long shot.
Yeah, I think so, but I tell you, him and who's the other young cornerback that hasn't been on the roster very Mathis.
Yeah, he's been around a little bit now.
Been around a couple weeks now. Those two right now probably are in the driver's seat, maybe for a practice squad cornerback spot, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to keep 6 on the 53, so I don't know if you have to keep one on the practice squad. And honestly, like, they could keep one of those guys on the practice squad, but they could turn around and cut that guy really quick and bring someone outside. Like, I was referencing last podcast, like, Jarvian Franklin got kept last year, and I was like, that dude's not sticking around. He did not have a good camp. But as soon as Trey Edmonds became available, they cut Franklin for Edmonds. So I could see, like, Dean or Mathis getting kept for literally the first 2 or 3 days, and then bring somebody in before week 1 to swap them out. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, but there's a chance for these guys to play.
Yeah, and I guess Branch would be the other young cornerback on still on the roster. I don't think he played.
No, nor Locke. PJ Locke kind of fell down again.
Right. So those guys, if healthy, though, I mean, they obviously haven't gotten waived ahead of this game, so they're healthy, because if they weren't, they'd already be replaced, because they're going to need bodies in this preseason finale here. So we should see guys like Branch, Mathis, the new kid here. We'll probably even get some snaps late as well too. So definitely something to keep an eye on as to maybe which one of those will ultimately end up on the practice squad here. As part of one of the other moves there, Herb Waters, who had been on the who had reverted to the reserve injured list, was also waived from IR on Tuesday, and that happened without an injury settlement too. So they just merely gave him time to get healthy and then waived him healthy there. So that's the status on him. I'm trying to think of who that leaves now on IR. I think it only leaves Levon Hooks, right? And Brian Allen after he reverts, sure. I think.
I believe so. So, yeah, bad day for former receivers turned cornerbacks with Allen to IR and Herb Waters waived. One guy you could keep on the practice squad, Trevon Henry, I think has some safety slot capability, which is kind of attractive for your practice squad team.
I was asked about him. I do that weekly spot with Dave Weekly from West Virginia there, and of course, obviously, a lot of West Virginia fans tune into that show. He asked me about him. Obviously, don't think he's going to make the 53-man roster. I don't have him on my practice squad right now. Not meaning that can't happen, but he really hasn't gotten a lot of work. And but I mean, if you're going to keep an extra safety, maybe not name Marcus Allen. Assuming Marcus Allen doesn't make the 53, maybe he's the guy that's going to be in the running for that.
Yeah, and again, it's safety and slot, so I think he helps you out in different ways. There aren't a ton of slot corners on this team. It's really Hilton, Sutton, Kelly to some extent, and then Niskew Henry. So just throwing that out there. All right, Dave, so that's the big roster move of the day. Still in a pretty good place health-wise, and Mike Tomlin, speaking of health, gave a minor update on the Steelers' injury report yesterday, said he didn't have any information on Sean Davis's ankle injury. And then Bud Dupree says it's not a broken thumb, a strained thumb. He should be okay for week 1. Davis seems to be a little more up in the air, and that seems to be the stats report right now.
Yeah, no news, as you mentioned, on Sean Davis, who reportedly had to go get his ankle looked at after yesterday's practice. We might not get an update on this for a while, you know. We might be left in the dark for a little while. I mean, we'll have to see if either Davis or Tomlin provides us any info. I doubt either will. Maybe Davis at least did come out right after the game the other night and say, "I'll be ready to play against the Patriots." So
yeah, but players are most optimistic about
right. So I mean, we're probably not going to get an update. We might be waiting until that a week from today, right?
The first injury report, yeah.
When the first injury report comes out 1 week today, boy, we're here we are. It's good to be able to say that the first injury report's right around the corner. And obviously, hopefully, we hope there's not a lot of names on that as well. So we'll have to see what the status with Davis is. Look, I mean, if he's not healthy enough to go, are you going to have to keep one other safety? On the 53, would you be able to get by with just 3 safety? Because I mean, if Cameron Kelly has to start in the place of Sean Davis, do you want him playing much on special teams? Not that he probably would have to play many snaps there, but that would really only leave you one other safety. So, it could have a trickle-down effect, I guess, on the 53-man roster.
Yeah, I mean, you got Hilton who can do that. He's played some free safety more extensively already this year than he did last year. And honestly, I mean, I get what you're saying about special teams, but Terrell Edmonds is still running down kicks. Like now, I don't know why that is a thing, but I mean, this dude was on the punt team all last year, so they probably don't seem to mind too much. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what Davis's status is. That's probably the one guy that you want to circle. I think Dupree's going to be well enough. He might have to have some sort of splinter cast or something on his hand for that thumb injury, but I think Davis is the one injury where he's status in question for week 1.
Obviously, don't know anything more about Ola Daney and his knee. I guess Dr. Mel seemed to think at worst he had missed week 1. That's going to be another one that will probably be left trying to find something out about a week from Wednesday. You would think that he would have to practice a little bit beforehand with his downtime. But at worst, he would just be inactive, and you would think as long as Bud Dupree and Anthony Chicklow, who is another guy we don't know much about right now, who missed the last game with a chest injury of some sort, some description, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, a lot of these guys we're not going to find out about, for a little while.
It's funny how the progression of camp goes. You started camp really healthy. Watt was down with the hamstring injury, and then you're at the finish line, and Watt's the one guy that has no question marks about the health right now. So, yeah, I think those are all minor. Obviously, I don't know that. We don't have too much of an update. I think, again, Dupree does seem minor for sure. I don't think Chick is going to be that serious. Obviously, Adeney could easily miss week 1, but hopefully he'll be back week 2 or week 3. So I don't know if it's going to be bad enough to force you to change your roster construction, but we'll see if Tomlin gives an update. When's he talk next? As he doesn't have a press conference this week. He just had his post-practice interview yesterday.
Yeah, we'll next hear from him after the Panthers game Thursday night.
Right.
And then
his regular Tuesday presser, right?
Then his regular Tuesday presser should be after that. Rounding out kind of the health report here, it sounds like Benny Snell and Deontay Johnson, both who sat out the game against the Titans, will be able to go Thursday night, so looking forward to that. Joe Hayden got himself. Joe Hayden said basically if the game against the Patriots was this weekend that he would play. He's around that 90% category. He's back practicing again, according to reports yesterday. That's a good sign as far as that's concerned. So it looks like he'll be ready to go. Feels like I'm missing somebody. Scotty, yeah. It's hard to read in between the lines of what Mike Tomlin said. He kind of insinuated that Scotty might be back this week, and at this point, though, I mean, do we really think Scotty and we'll talk about the tight end position here in a little bit based on what Tomlin said, but do we really expect Scotty to even have a legitimate shot at the 53-man roster right now?
No, dude's played 5 snaps in the preseason. That's just not going to happen. I was going to talk about the tight end position now because Tomlin was asked, and I'm glad someone asked it, what have you seen out of this tight end group? And Tomlin said bluntly, quote, not enough. And that's about as a fair assessment as you possibly can have with this group. He talked about, obviously Scotty not playing and Gentry being hurt and missing a game. So you talk about the tight end position while I catch my train.
Well, the train has definitely left Scotty behind. Unfortunate, but look, we talked about the status of that international pathway program here the last couple of weeks, and I know Tomlin's had a few positive things to say. I think you overheard or someone overheard him, something to the fact if you can block the 4-3 defensive end, you can play in this league, and all that sounds good. And look, I mean, Scotty might play Thursday night against the Panthers, have a great game. I just think with that exemption and all the things that we covered and his inexperience and his rawness still, I just don't see a path for him to the 53-man roster. I think he's going to be ticketed for the practice squad once again. That's okay. Obviously, once he hits that practice squad with that exemption, I believe he has to stay there all season, and that's okay as well. We've talked basically since the draft, I think, even since Gentry was drafted, talking about what is this team going to do at the bottom of the tight end depth chart. You would think and hope maybe Thursday night that you don't see Vance McDonald, that you don't see Xavier Grimble, because right now they obviously can't afford to have anything happen to those two guys right now. And then, as the week progresses, I mean, look, Gentry in his limited playing time, and obviously I think we're talking about now something along the lines of 12 to 14 run snaps, and then a handful of the other pass snaps and all. He hasn't looked bad as a run blocker, but I mean, we're dealing with such a small sample size and late in games that you don't want to draw any hard conclusions from that. But, from the easy Captain Obvious process of elimination here, he's a number 3 tight end, because it's not going to be Kevin Rader. It's not going to be Trevor Wood. It's not going to be Mickey, who I don't even think played the other night against Tennessee. Mickey Crum, we'll have to see if he that sounds like a made-up name or a character out of Seinfeld or something along those lines. But, obviously he's not going to be an answer there. So we're going to be left to wondering, even after this preseason game happens Thursday night, what are the Steelers going to do between now or between that the end of that game and the initial setting of the 53-man roster? And you've talked for a while that you're going to put a list of tight ends together that might be potential targets / options for the Steelers. I believe that went up by you Wednesday morning.
Okay, now you just have me thinking about a Seinfeld story of Mickey Crum, and like who would that be? Mickey Crum sounds like the guy that promises Kramer tickets behind home plate to a Yankees game, and Jerry doesn't believe him. They don't go, but the tickets are real. Like now I just have this whole scene in my head.
What was it? The little guy, the little person also named Mickey?
Oh, my Seinfeld knowledge is pretty thin.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm gonna have to trust you on this one. I can only get the no soup for you reference. And that's about all I got in my arsenal.
So you're the Mike Wallace of Seinfeld, huh?
Yeah, and you're the Mike Wallace of DBZ. So that's where we stand. I mean, it's a really important game for Zach Gentry.
Where is a good starting point to get into DBZ? Just right from the beginning, or what?
You're not gonna get in. There's so much history. No, you're not gonna.
Is it over my head? Just stay away.
Yeah, I mean, this thing's been going on for forever, and since like the 90s. It's just, I wouldn't even try. Just you're good with your over 9,000 reference. I'm good with my no soup for you. Okay. Those will be our battles.
Tell us about some tight ends.
Yeah. I have a list of 7 options, and again, they are pretty boring, but this tight end market is super thin. These are guys that you could trade a late-round pick for, someone you could look at on roster cutdowns, either or. Jason Kuhn from Buffalo, who I've mentioned time and time again, I doubt he's not going to get cut. I'm almost sure that you'd have to try to pull off a trade, and he's got a hamstring injury, Tyler Crossfoot injury from Buffalo still up in the air, but that's something I've looked at. They brought him and the Steelers did for a pre-draft visit. He had a decent year last year. My favorite name on the list, honestly, might be a guy from Cleveland, Seth DeValve. Now, he's a little H-back-ish, but he's played some tight end. He's done well against Pittsburgh. he's a good chance he's going to get cut. He missed the part of camp with a concussion. He's recovered now, but he's very much on the bubble, and he even knows it. A couple of Oakland guys that we've talked about before, Luke Wilson, I'm stealing your name there. That's a pretty attractive option, guy that's been a number 2 before if an injury strikes, and he has to step up into that role. Derek Carrier, who had that touchdown pass against them last year. One of probably the smallest names on the list, JP.
I like Carrier. I probably like Carrier more than you do.
Yeah,
but,
I kind of like Wilson more of the two, but I think both guys could work some good size for and experience for both of those guys. J.P. Holtz from Washington, again, a little H-back-ish, but known for his blocking. Washington, Jordan Reed.
That's a Pitt. He's a Pitt product, isn't he?
Yep, Pitt guy. Yeah. They know him pretty well. He was in Cleveland, too, for a brief time, so there's a little more familiarity with him. Just a blocking specialist, but if that's what you're looking for, he's going to give you that. Then a couple of Tampa Bay tight ends that I've named. Tampa Bay should have to make some cuts at tight end here. Jordan Leggett, who obviously this team the Steelers did a waiver claim on back in the middle of the offseason, and then Tampa Bay scooped them up. And then Anthony Auclair from Canada, been with Tampa for the last 2 years. I actually did a minor trade proposal yesterday, which the Steelers would send Eli Rogers and a 7th-round pick for Auclair and a 6th-round pick for next year. I think that one would make a lot of sense because Tampa Bay can't keep all their tight ends. Tanner Hudson's impressed. They got Cameron Brate, who's making too much money. You're not trading for Cameron Brate, by the way, for people wondering. You got O.J. Howard, so Auclair's a blocking specialist, but some decent, really good size and can make a bit of noise in the passing game. So that'd be a good option for a number 3 tight end.
The odds of them going after a kind of a rookie, inexperienced guy is probably low, right?
Yeah, but all the guys on my list have some level of NFL experience.
What about who was the Colts guy?
I didn't have a Colts guy. I know people have talked about the Colts guy.
Not the Colts guy. The younger Tampa Bay guy.
Auclair is going into his 3rd year, I believe, and Leggett is, had a couple years in the 3rd or 4th year for him. So all these guys have some level of experience. Yeah, there's a couple guys in Indy. I know they talked about, I think, a rookie tight end from Bama, whose name I don't remember right now. Those are possible. I can't rule out anybody, obviously, but I just usually they go with somebody with more Sunday experience when they make these kind of moves.
Yeah, I've been kind of zeroed more in on Luke Wilson or Carrier with Oakland so far. And as I've mentioned already, boy, you got a strong connection with Wilson and Vance McDonald, both Rice products. So Vance already probably knows a little bit or obviously does know a lot about Luke Wilson already. Nothing flashy with him, but a guy that's got 5-6 years NFL experience, a guy that's I think he's actually been a minor asset on special teams throughout his career as well. Obviously, someone you wouldn't have would understand the language and be able to do some of the things that you would want him to do on special teams. A fairly okay blocker. Look, he's not going to light the world on fire, and as I mentioned a few times the last couple weeks as well too. Some of these guys, if the Steelers don't claim them, I bet the Patriots do, because the Patriots are still tight end poor right now. I mean, they're obviously not going to have Watson or Lance Kendricks for the opener, and Watson obviously beyond. Heck, Kendricks might not even make the final cut, right?
Right.
And I mean, they've got a few injured tight ends there, so I know Belichick's just sitting around right now waiting to make a trade or pluck 3 or 4 of these guys off the waiver wires, work them out, then throw whatever he doesn't want back on the pile there. So, I have a feeling the Steelers are either going to have to trade for one or win. They should be ahead of the Patriots in the waiver wire order still. So, or claim one off of waivers. And now that you have those names out there, I mean, how surprised would you be if they don't trade or pick one off the waiver wire here in the next week?
I think Zach Gentry, Thursday's game means more to Zach Gentry and to the team evaluating Zach Gentry than maybe any other spot, maybe even more so than quarterback, because I think you go all 4 games because Gentry did miss the 1 week and hasn't played a ton of snaps in like the first game, and you see how he does and just kind of get your best baseline feel for him. Because, again, you got to find someone who's going to be better than him and worth cutting Gentry into sending the practice squad and going through all that stuff. So, this is a really critical game for Zach Gentry to show what he can do as a blocker and receiver. There's been some good moments and there's been some flashes, and he's the guy that can win vertical and, caught a touchdown pass in the opener against Tampa Bay. But, yeah, this is a game where you really just give Gentry, 40 snaps and just kind of see what he can do.
I'm trying to remember back to the first preseason of Jesse James, and I think I'm just a little bit too far.
Oh, well, there was that Vikings game, the Hall of Fame game, where he dropped that pass, and that was a really, really bad start for him. Everyone got on him for that.
Yeah, that's a good memory.
But he was dealing with the death of his friend. There was a lot of stuff off the field, and things kind of improved the rest of the preseason. But yeah, it was a really tough start for Jesse James in a lot of ways.
And I remember his block. I remember us kind of being all over his blocking too, weren't we?
Yeah, he was a 6'7", supposed to be a senior Penn State kind of guy, so his blocking really improved, just the way Grimble's did. Most rookie tight ends, they're blocking in the way the college game is. Even the good blockers in college still aren't very good in the NFL when they first arrive. So it takes some time, but he became, I think, a much better blocker as Grimble has as well.
I guess what I'm getting at here is I think top to bottom maybe Gentry's rookie preseason so far. Obviously, he's missed one game in there as well too, and Jesse had, I think, one more game that he got to play. But just from a blocking aspect, I want to be careful saying pleasantly surprised, because once again we're not dealing with a large selection here, of run blocking plays. But I mean, it's been okay so far, I think. So yeah, I think you're right. I think this next game, heck, I'd get Gentry out there a ton, and him and Scotty, if Scotty suits up, I want to see a lot of those two guys at least in the first half, and I think we will.
Yeah, I think you got to get your best evaluation possible. Yeah, I agree. It's been okay for Gentry, but as Tomlin said, and I literally agree, it's just not been enough snaps to have enough of an evaluation on. So he's just got to play a lot, and I think his performance and their comfort with him is going to determine what this team does at final cutdowns, addressing tight end position or not addressing it at all.
I mean, they're not going to carry four tight ends, right? I mean,
no,
they wouldn't keep Gentry and then go out and make a move, right?
I don't see the point. I just would cut Gentry. Put him in practice squad.
Right. Okay, good stuff there. Well, obviously, I'm trying to think if maybe you missed a name or two down here. I mean, look, you're not going to go after some of these guys with the $5 or $6 million salaries. Obviously, you can't afford to trade for those kind of players there, so you might as well get that out of your head there. It's going to be a guy, if they do anything, it's going to be a guy people probably aren't going to like because of the kind of player he is, but it should be the kind of player that we've been outlining the entire time here.
Yeah, they're never going to be high-level moves, or rarely are high-level moves. With the tight end market being really poor, you just have to get whatever you can get. And again, you may decide that Gentry's just about as good as those other options, so what's the point? And you just kind of roll with Gentry, the guy that's been in your system and knows what's going on before the regular season. Dave, we
don't think they're going to do anything at safety at this point either. It doesn't look like. It all depends, I think, on Sean Davis and his ankle at this point, but. I mean, could we have the first time in how many years has it been since at least one new player hasn't been added post OTAs, post mandatory minicamp?
Possible. The health of the team certainly helps. When you have good health, it's just teams enjoy it overall. That helps things out a little bit, creates a little less urgency at some of these positions. I know Colwitt's been doing trades since 2015. I don't know what the streak is for bringing outside guys prior to that, but yeah, I mean safety has some more attractive names, but obviously the Cameron Kelly's play's been more impressive, so it's less likely they address the position there. If you want to throw out one name, Duke Dawson in New England, he seems a little bubbly. I checked it like a week ago. I don't know what his status is right now, but a high pedigree guy. Steelers brought him in for a pre-draft visit, so I would circle Duke Dawson if they wanted to make any sort of move there.
All right, where to?
Last thing on Tomlin, talking about, Tomlin was asked about several players yesterday and their progression, and his answer was basically the same for everybody. Special teams, special teams, special teams. And that was also true for Benny Snell, talking about, what Benny Snell has to do, him presumably being healthy for Thursday's game against Carolina Panthers. And he talked about, how Benny Snell is going to cover his first kick before he touches the ball in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. So that's what they're evaluating him on. And, obviously he's got a good battle going on with Trey Edmonds, who has a lot of special teams value. I thought played a really good special teams performance against the Titans this past Sunday. Trey Edmonds did. So Benny Snell and Deontay Johnson and, all these guys that are trying to make that push or really have to prove themselves on special teams in addition to their respective side of the ball.
And that includes our buddy Tuzar Skipper.
the camp darling, and he's not playing special teams, and he doesn't know why. And I'll get the quote here in a second, because he was asked about that by reporters yesterday, and I feel for him here, and I'm confused by it too. But Skipper said, quote, "I don't know why I am not playing special teams. I want to play special teams. I am not saying I don't want to play special teams." And he did it before in college a little bit. That's how he got hurt in 2017 towards ACL run down a kick against Tulsa. So listen, I want him to get a look. I don't know why he's not getting a look. All I know that he's not getting a look. And if you're not doing that, your odds of making the 53 are really thin.
What have I written about him for 3 weeks now? He needs to, want to see what he can do on special teams. What have we written about Ola as far as what Keith Butler has said about Ola? Even though we kind of have turned a deaf ear because we thought, and obviously before his knee injury, there's no way Ola's not making this 53, even though Keith Butler keeps pounding the table, says he's got to do something on special teams. You can't apply that statement to Ola and not apply it to Tuzar. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Ola had been playing special teams before his injury too.
Exactly. Now, do I know why do we hate Tuzar, Alex? Why do you and I hate him?
I like the guy. I've talked about him since early in camp about the power that he had, and he's like Ola last year, where he's been impressive with his outside linebacker position. But the questions are there on special teams, and again, I want him out there. I don't know why they're not at least giving him a look. You'd think somebody playing that well defensively would at least get a longer look on special teams. I don't know if it's a conditioning thing. I don't know if it's an athleticism issue. But he's not out there. And I'll read the quote here really quick from Keith Butler. This is a couple weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, from Keith Butler talking about Ola. It says, quote, "A guy who's not a starter at outside linebackers got to play special teams. I think if you would ask him, he would know that he's got to improve on special teams and stuff like that from the part of our team and making the team." So he's got, 3 snaps Skipper does on special teams?
3, and why did he get those maybe?
I think I saw your tweet that was after Chick got hurt against, what was that, Kansas City?
Kansas City, and all of them, they were the worst 3 kind of snaps to have to get. Punt return, where he, and I got to admit, I mean, as best as we could with the angles that we have, he didn't look like he knew what to do. He didn't block on one of them. Yeah, I mean, it's like get out. He played the kind of the defensive tackle role on the punt block team. Where basically you take 2 steps forward and you run back. And one of those it didn't look like he touched anybody. I'm not putting that on him because I'm just as confused as well as to why he's not getting more of that. And you have to, and while going through that tape and noticing when he got those snaps and on what team, what particular teams they were on, it really makes you wonder why. Did he only get those snaps because Chickalo was down at the time? And the only other thing, and this is, where's my tinfoil hat at? See if I can put this on and get this tightened down. Maybe they know they have something there as far as a pass rusher and don't want him to show to show anything on special teams for fear that maybe they will lose him. And I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth because I never worry about that kind of stuff there. But I mean, I don't know what other sense to make out of it. Now look, he had, and I broke down. I don't know if you've looked at it yet, but he's had a total of 9 successful pass rushes, if you will, throughout the preseason. Okay, 3 sacks. 3 hurries and 3 quarterback hits. I located 8 of those 9 and broke them down for people on the site today to give them something to get mad about, kind of trolling, if you will. But look, I mean, he's shown some good things as a pass rusher, and not only that, he's shown them on both sides of the line. He even has a nice little twist in there that he did with Henry Mondeau that got a little bit of pressure, a hit in the face there. The win against I don't know, what did you think about that win against the Titans on that sack? I mean,
it was a weird play action play. It was really stressing the tackle. It wasn't.
Really was stressing. Pasteur, Austin, is that his name?
He's still around, Austin Pasteur.
Yeah.
Really, he was in Cleveland for a while. Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, obviously, he's been a most experienced tackle that Tuzar has faced, and really his only win against all that played against Tennessee the other night was that one sack. But I mean, and I wrote, and I haven't checked the comments yet. I think Jarvis Jones could have got the corner on that one and gotten the sack. I mean, you admit that's that really stresses that tackle in kind of that wide 9 situation with the H back cutting off. You can't cut back and try to cut the angle in front of the H-back going across on kind of a split zone look, right? I mean, it was almost next to impossible to expect that right tackle to beat Tuzar to the edge there. And then Woodside didn't step up into the pocket, so that helped Tuzar out. Look, I'm not talking about the bad there. I'm just trying to explain what happened on that one. Obviously, the rest of his sacks, I mean, we see some dip and rip and power. We see the makings of a strong left-handed kind of slash punch or maybe attempt at a long arm. A good swipe, nice counters in there. There's not a lot not to like about his pass rushing prowess, and it's not his fault that he's going against these guys that are probably going to be on the street here moving furniture pretty soon. You can only beat the guys that you go against. But I think when you stack all that together along with his lack of special teams, I mean, is there a path to the 53? Yes, but I think would entail, obviously, and we talked about it, not carrying a 9th offensive lineman or what? Not carrying a cut one of your DBs or cut down one of your wide receivers. I mean, there's not too many room. I guess you could not carry Ulysses Gilbert, but I mean, it's looking good that Gilbert's probably going to make it because he does play special teams.
Yeah, I would take either carrying 8 offensive linemen, having Skipper be the last linebacker, and cutting Gilbert, as you said, or Ola going to IR to return, which would probably mean Skipper would have to be initially cut and then brought back once you finally moved Ola, because Ola's going to make the 53 initially for you to make that kind of move. I think all those 3 things are pretty unlikely. I think the 8 offensive linemen is the most likely scenario of that, but do you keep that for someone else who's going to be without special teams value as a linebacker, and that really hurts him. Skipper's go ahead.
Even if he does make the 53, he's probably going to be inactive, and I know people say, well, that's not the point. We worry about him getting claimed off waivers. Do you worry about him getting claimed off waivers?
Not particularly, but to the point about him being inactive anyway, I mean, that's true of almost the last 53rd guy that you're putting on your team. So that part I don't care about too much. I care about what happens if he's active, though. Let's say there's an injury, so he is actually active on game day. What is his role? If he doesn't play special teams and he's a number 4 outside linebacker, like, what are you carrying him active for? So that's the question I would ask more so about than the fact that he'll be inactive to start.
And people, and look, I mean, why don't people understand the whole Matakavis-Chicolo thing?
Yeah, well, I think it's just that like the changing of the guard, and they know that those guys have reached their ceiling, and I get that. I mean, is Skipper going to be a better pass rusher than Chick? Yeah, probably. He might even be that right now, in all honesty, just in terms of in a vacuum. But again, as I mentioned, the trust that the coaching staff has in Chick to play both sides, to play off ball, to work within the scheme, the structure of the play, those things are intangible, but they're very valuable. When I was Skipper's done well with his run defense, and he's not very good going backwards, but that's a pretty minor thing. I don't agree with the tinfoil, scenario of they're trying to hide him, because you're not going to rob yourself of an evaluation to keep the rest of the league, in the dark. And even if that was true, he would play on that first game against Tampa because he was a rookie. He didn't know how this was going to go for him. So you were going to play him in that first game, like you would normally. You wouldn't be trying to hide him from the very, very beginning. So I don't buy that.
Yeah, and I just was trying to put it on to kind of come up with honestly, you can't come up with any other reason, though, as to why he's not getting special team snaps. Unless he just can't be trusted, not staying awake in the meetings or something. I don't know.
My only, and I'm going to put on it, I'm going to steal your tinfoil hat here, is that Because he got hurt before in 2017 and
you're gonna have to size it down a little bit because my head's kind of big.
Yeah, engulfing me. I'm swimming in it. Because he tore his ACL in 2017, maybe there's some sort of medical concern about him playing in this kind of space and making that kind of change of direction. That's a really crazy theory because obviously an injury could happen anyway. Change of direction is going to happen. It's an outside linebacker, but I don't know if there's some concern there about a health thing where like if he's running down a kick and he tears his ACL like he did before. Is that an issue? That's the only crazy crockpot idea I have for you.
I mean, he's got to play some special teams against the Panthers, right?
I mean, he hasn't. You'd think because they're not going to be playing anybody. Who's almost anybody that's making this team. But even by then, it just kind of tells you that they don't have a whole lot of faith in him to do that. Now, obviously, I know he's not a great athlete, and his change of direction is poor, and I can see that's one reason why they don't want to play him on there. But also at the same point, guys like Medikevich and Chicks are not superb athletes either. So I would at least play him out there and at least get a look at him. And if he does poorly, then at least you have your answer. But right now, you just don't know how he's going to do because the dude just hasn't played it.
All right, assuming he does not make the 53 and gets waived, percent chance he gets picked up off of waivers.
I don't know. Whatever the percent chance is for any player to get picked up. What is it? 44 guys I think got claimed last year of the 1,100 that got cut. So I think that's the math. That's 4%. So I'll round up. I'll say 5%.
Yeah, just I mean, and for a team to add him, and it not be because of special teams prowess. I mean, you can't tell me you're going to just add him and throw him on your 53 and make him inactive.
Yeah, but I agree. I don't know why he's not playing out there. I don't know why he hasn't gotten a look. He deserves it. He deserves that pure, clear, complete evaluation, and I think that's unfair to him.
And Steeler fans only have blinders on when it comes to their own too. Look, you could go to any blog/message board, Twitter hashtag. Around the league right now, and there's probably each team has 3 or 4 guys that there's no way they could absolutely cut because they won't clear waivers, according to the fans.
Yeah, I think everyone obviously overvalues their own, and that's something you have to consider when you look at this thing. But Skipper's a good player; he's done well. I'm excited for him. I'm not seeing the path, especially without that special teams value based on everything this team has said.
All right, what else?
Let's recap. Let's go back to the Sunday night game against Tennessee. I've gotten to go through it a little bit more. I'm sure you have too, Dave. Anything else additional stand out from that tune-up game that you didn't see that first time through when we talked on Monday?
Oh, wow. I'm trying to think of anything that I didn't cover in most of the positive I think was obviously in the first half of the game. I still don't like the early drops by McDonald, but that's something that you get over there. The offensive line, I think he did a great job of pointing it out in about 4 different stills on the Twitter machine. Nowhere close, not even able to breathe on Ben. That was a good sign there. I'm trying to think of what else maybe stuck out to me later in the game, and I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, the O-line did a great job, and I could have posted 4 more of those screen caps there. Juju got moved around a lot. I was really happy with how Randy Fichtner used Juju and Vance for that matter too. Bunch sets, slot, outside, getting him in different route combinations to free him up. So I was happy to see that and did it with Vance. Switzer did start that game, but Eli worked in the next series over Switzer, so they've kind of gone back and forth. I thought Big Dan had a heck of a game. Big Dan had one of the best games I've ever seen from him. He was making literally 3 or 4 straight run tackles and getting pressure. Isaiah Buggs had a pretty poor game. His anchor, it was an issue there, kind of getting blown out. Trey Edmonds, I thought, did really well in special teams, creating a lot of havoc. And then Sutton Smith, while I'm happy Sutton Smith played, and he played a lot, and that's really good for him, he was invisible. I didn't even see a positive play from him. He was just getting worked by tight ends and tackles and didn't have any impact on the run game and up the arc every single time as a pass rusher.
Yeah, and that's the kind of things that we may be worried about stemming from Senior Bowl with him. Was it going to be quality competition going to be a bit of a problem for him? And look, I mean, we've only seen him one game, so far, and he had to play 50 something snaps, and
then another 15 on special teams.
Right. So I'm sure
funny. He's playing 15. He's played 12 more snaps than Skipper has his whole preseason in one game.
I mean, he's not even a lock to make the practice squad right now. Not that he ever was a lock, probably, but I mean, he's definitely a guy that we talked. Oh man, we so many wasted words we've had about Sutton Smith, and make no mistake, I didn't think he was going to make the 53-man roster unless he did something on special teams during the preseason. That ship looks like it's about sailed at this point. Shown really nothing as a defensive player in those 50-something snaps. Just was pretty much you go out there and get on that end, and that was about it. With him, obviously has the one remaining preseason game, but unless he blocks a couple of punts or forces a couple of turnovers and forces his way, if you will, onto that 53, I just don't see a path for him. And now with Tuzar possibly being, I mean, how many outside linebackers? I suppose you could keep two edge guys on the 53, depending on the health
on
of
the 53.
I mean, on the practice squad, depending on the health of Ola, right?
Right. Yeah. That'd be fine.
So I mean, it would at this point it'd be because Sutton Smith is you hope has upside as a special teams player, you would think he could be one of those. So I don't think it's out of the question that he lands on the practice squad. Talking about Sutton Smith, but he better get busy Thursday night.
He's certainly one of the top guys fighting for a job. And again, 53, like you said, is probably out of the question right now, but practice squad. And on my most recent 53-man roster, or Steelers roster prediction 53 and practice squad, I took Sutton Smith off entirely. I was in that as an outright cut, just because he hasn't done anything. I mean, aside from being a 6th-round pick, what has he done to deserve a spot? So he could get back on there with better play against Carolina, and hopefully his second game. Obviously, it's tough to go miss so much time and then have your first game on the road in the rain, all that stuff. Play a lot of snaps, but I have him cut outright right now.
Yeah, well, I'd say, I mean, Sutton Smith should be on. I'm going to be putting together my 5 players to watch for the finale on both offense or defense. Sutton Smith should be on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a guy, again, literally fighting for a job right now. So absolutely he should be on there.
Okay, speaking of, anything else stick out to you the other night? Maybe later in the game, some look. Henry Mondeau, I think, put together a nice preseason to date, right? I mean,
yeah, I thought the first game was his best. It's been a little bit quieter from there, but I still think he's in the driver's seat, especially after Lavon Hook's injury. Like, who else are you going to keep? Casey Sales would be his most direct competition right now.
I'm trying to think, what else do we have that potentially later in that game? Obviously, I thought Gilbert's looked good. I've been impressed with Gilbert. And the fact that he's doing a lot on special teams. I don't think he's making the impact on special teams yet. But, look, you got 11 guys. If everybody does their job, 10 guys probably aren't going to be in on a tackle, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I mean, you look at Dirty Red, he's constantly doing his job. That's why he's ended up with 36 total special teams tackles over the course of the last 3 years, and that has to put him up at the league high over the course of the last 3 years in that area.
I think I had him tied for second, I think, in the NFL over the last 3 years, and well in first place on the team.
Right. I mean, and that's why he's there. It's not because none of us want to see Tyler Matakevich out there on the defensive side of football. Speaking of inside linebacker, tell us about how the rotations have gone.
Yeah, I think we got our first bit of clarity. Obviously, Sunday was the first time that Vince, Bush, and Barron were all active for the same game. It was basically Bush playing playing in base, in nickel, and in dime. Barron was playing in nickel and a little bit of base, and then Vince only in base. So essentially the way I think it's going to go for this year is Vince and Bush, maybe a little bit of rotation there, but basically Vince and Bush in base, Bush and Barron in nickel, and then Bush being your dime defender. So that seems to be the most logical way to set it up, and seems to be the way they're doing it in practice as well.
I'm not surprised, but we still got a little ways to go. I want to see, and I think Mike Tomlin kind of hinted one other thing that he said during his Tuesday press conference, that we will see some Devin Bush out there in this finale, and I can't wait to see that as well. I want to see him get would you play him? at least the first quarter, right? I mean, at least 20, 25 snaps.
I would like to have a quick hook on Devin Bush, to be honest. I get what Tomlin's saying, but I want to make sure he's good for week 1.
Well, he'll be out there to some degree, so we'll have to see how many plays he gets. So that's definitely one thing to look forward to. We expect him to have the green dot. I would expect Vince Williams to have a green dot helmet somewhere on the sideline, but I think initially that we're going to see a lot of Bush and a lot of Barron when you have two of them on the field together.
In nickel, yeah. In base, I think it'll be Bush and Vince. And then in dime, like I said, I think it'll be Devin Bush. I think they do want to get him out there for Thursday just to play on a road game to work communication. I mean, that's going to be so critical. So I'm fine with him playing. 2 series is probably good for me seeing Devin Bush out there.
Okay, one other guy that will start is Joshua Dobbs. We learned yesterday that Joshua Dobbs will start the season finale against the Panthers. Mason Rudolph will follow him into the game. By the sound of things, and that's dangerous to do at this point, it sounds like we're going to see Dobbs for a quarter, Rudolph for a quarter, and maybe Hodges for the second half. Is that the way you're taking it?
Yeah, that sounds about as good as anything. I was a little surprised that Mason is playing, or at least not starting in this one. But does that signal to you at all that they still consider this battle open, or at least want to have the appearance of it being open? Or do you think that Rudolph has got that job locked up already?
I don't know. How much time do you have, and how tight can I put the chin strap on my tinfoil helmet here?
I mean, Tomlin did reference about, how guys won jobs last year, so it seemed to be at least the appearance that he has things is still being open.
I don't know if I believe that, though.
Right.
I mean, look, a year ago, I thought Landry was going to be the number 2.
Yeah. Same.
Okay. Even though Dobbs had a good showing against the Panthers, I still thought Landry was going to be the number 2.
Same.
Okay. So, I guess we should take it as face value. There is part of me that thinks that maybe it's a hey, looky here kind of thing.
What do you mean?
Well, just maybe they think that highly of Hodges that they would be willing to trade Dobbs for the right pick.
Wouldn't you play him more than a quarter, though, to try to maximize that value?
I would. I mean, I would.
Yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't quite feel like it because we knew Dobbs was going to play.
Okay. I mean, in the same breath, if that competition was that wide open, then why even play Hodges at all? Why not give Dobbs a half, Rudolph a half?
Yeah, I mean,
or rotate them quarters. Go to see how they come off the bench too. Go Dobbs, Rudolph. Rotate it because you're probably going to get what 12 to 13 series Thursday night.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So 3. You'll rotate them that way. I just have a hard time believing, other than maybe Tomlin just wanting to put the pressure on Rudolph a little bit to make Rudolph think that he doesn't have it nailed down to see how he kind of responds to that. Maybe that's the angle that he's going after here.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of said the appearance of it being up in the air. It may not be, but it may be as well. And then just to kind of see what Rudolph does. But I mean, obviously I wanted Hodges to play. I'd be super bummed if he didn't get to play at all because he deserves that longer look. And hey, this is the play. This is the game for the fourth quarterback to traditionally play anyway. And certainly Hodges is a lot more than your typical number 4.
What do you think about pro football? And I don't know if Bruce Gronkowski's doing this or not. I heard that he was. I don't know if he is still. What do you think about Joshua Dobbs being the highest graded Steelers quarterback for the last 2 games?
Yeah, I don't worry about stuff a whole lot. I mean, he's made enough super spectacular plays. Maybe that's why those numbers are so high, because he's good for that one wow play per game that might give him the super A plus in their grading. But I don't know how they grade. I don't know what they're looking at, so I don't react to it too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not knowing exactly behind the curtain and how weighted a play with the legs is versus And he has made some plays with his legs, and
and his arm too.
And we would expect that. I mean, especially outside the pocket. And then you turn around and how much. I didn't even look to see if they put that drop on Gentry. Put that as a drop on Gentry on that interception or not. I mean, have you had a chance to go back and look at that again?
I consider it basically inconclusive. If you had to make me guess, I think it was tipped by the Titans defender. I think it's too inconclusive for me to say concretely that's a drop by Gentry. I think I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there.
It does not look like, not that it matters, it does not look like they put that as a drop on.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
On Gentry. So they do put an interception in his column. I don't know if they do that with all of them if they're targeted and a ball gets intercepted. I guess that's what where they're going for that way. So it is kind of inconclusive as to whether it was tipped or not. But I just found it curious, and how much credence. I mean, I probably still wouldn't give it much credence even if Bruce Gronkowski was doing the grading there, not knowing the complete grading system there. But I just found it a little bit amusing that that Dobbs has been their highest graded Steelers quarterback for the last 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, again, I respect the work they do, but without knowing how they grade things and that peek behind the curtain, I can't tell you a whole lot about their mindset there.
They do a lot of good things. I mean, obviously we subscribe as a site, to PFF and all, but man, some of the things they're still, and I'll catch them making errors still all the time, and more so from the second half of last season on. I'm not going to cancel my subscription to them, but look, you've got to look at all this and measure everything. Do I look at their grades weekly? Yes, but I also look at the tape sometimes too, and I come to a different conclusion sometimes on some of these things. And I think they missed some coverages and whatnot, and obviously not knowing what the exact play call leaves some subjectivity in there, and that's the biggest thing. This isn't as cut and dry as analytics and grading as baseball is.
Mm-hmm. All right. What else from the Thursday's game, tomorrow's game, are you checking out? Anything else?
Well, I mean, what's Fred Johnson going to do? I think maybe it's Fred has had his moments, both good and bad, right?
Mm-hmm. So, and he's been moved around a lot, and that probably isn't the best thing for his personal play because he has to play a lot of uncomfortable and new spots.
I think I think he's going to be on my list. Benny Snell. I mean, I want to see him have more success running the football.
Same.
I think he's on my list. I think Zach Gentry has to be on my list from a run blocking standpoint and maybe a special team standpoint. So I think he's going to be on it. The whole quarterback battle, of course, be fun to watch. Deontay being back. I mean, I want to see Deontay have another good game like he had a couple games ago. I think he deserves to be on that list. Trying to think about defensive side of the football here. I don't want to. Don't put Javon Hargrave out there, please.
Yeah.
He has shown enough not to have to get lathered up any in this one. Tuzar in the special teams, I think, is an aspect that I mean, do you see any more Cameron Kelly or Mike Hilton or anybody in the secondary that you need to see more of?
Well, it's going to be a good segue into my latest roster prediction, and I don't want to go through the whole thing because they're all getting pretty similar at this point, but I do have a couple differences, and one difference I do have is at safety, where I put Marcus Allen back on my 53 after a couple really back-to-back, I think, strong performances that he's had. I kicked Jordan Dangerfield off of it and put him on the practice squad because for some ungodly reason the dude's still practice squad eligible, but that's a battle I still think is going down to the wire with Allen versus Dangerfield.
What does Marcus Allen do better than Jordan Dangerfield, in your opinion?
I think on defense you might be more comfortable with him. I think he can play dime. He's been your dime backer before as a backup, but he can do that if injury strikes. That's something Dangerfield's never been able to do or never been asked to do with the Steelers. And the big reason why I put Allen on there to take Dangerfield off. Also, my 53, I have Trey Edmonds making the 53, kicking Fred Johnson off, and Trey Edmonds will become my up back on the punt team, which is a spot Dangerfield can do. But if you have Edmonds doing it, then that makes Dangerfield even more expendable.
Let's see. As far as more defensive stuff, I'd like to see a ton of. As soon as Devin Bush leaves the game, I'd like to see Ulysses Gilbert play the rest of the game.
He basically will. He probably will get subbed out at the very end, but yeah, he'll play. He played a lot Sunday, didn't he? He played a decent amount of snaps, even with the starters in.
I'd like to see a lot of that in there. Is there anything that Deontay Spencer or Johnny Holton can do this week?
Spencer's got to take one to the house, at least. Even then, it might not be enough, but that's what he has to do, and Holton's mission is make a vertical play.
And, I think people have asked us to try to nail down some of this special team stuff, and because of the TV angle came back to haunt me, trying to break down. I'll tell you this, on the opening punt return team, I was able to find opening kickoff team, I should say. I was able to find identify all but one number, and I got so damn frustrated because of not having the all 22.
Which one, the kick return team or the kick coverage
kick
team?
Return team?
I have them all.
Okay, well I have. Let me tell you what I have as far as the first one. Okay. 54, Gilbert Matakevich. 44, 42, 49, 37, and then 85 and 33, which would be Grimble and Edmonds. The last line, the protectors, 45 Knicks, 13 Washington, and then Switzer was the returner. Who am I missing?
Jalen Samuels between Gilbert and Dirty Red.
That was Jalen Samuels. Okay.
Yeah, it was a 38, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't Cam Kelly. It was a little too big to be Cam Kelly, so I'm going with Jalen Samuels.
All right, and he had the white sleeves on too, and I think Samuels wears those kind of white.
Good call.
On that too. That was the one that I couldn't get. Did anything surprise you in that group?
No, but again, that is one reason to sit there and say, who starts on that team aren't always guarantees to make the team. Like, obviously, Robert Spillane's not making the 53. Sutton Smith probably not making the 53. So guys do get moved around a little bit. But no, I wasn't shocked by anything.
Chicolo would probably be one of those in place of...
Yeah, one of those spots, yep.
And the 33 Edmonds, that would probably be a Benny Snell spot, possibly, right?
Or where Washington was at, because I think it's been Knicks opposite Snell whenever Snell's been healthy.
All right, what about punt return team? Did you map that one?
Do I have the punt? No, because the angle sucked. I just right now have kick return and the starting kick coverage team.
All right, what about the kick coverage team?
It went Sutton, Lane, this is going left to right. Sutton, Lane, Nix, Gilbert, Sutton Smith, Boz, Matakevich, Edmonds, Terrell Edmonds. For some reason, I don't know why they're doing that. Dangerfield and Mathis. And again, nothing super shocking other than Terrell Edmonds running down kicks, which I don't want him to do.
And Mathis was out there?
Mm-hmm. He was, what would that be, R5, R1, the far right.
Okay, all right. So obviously can't read too much into a few of those positions there, but a lot of them are going to be as is.
Yeah, Nix. Well, I guess Nix and maybe Sutton would be the only as is spots. Dangerfield if he makes it. I mean, things are kind of up in the air there, but they'll make it work.
Okay, what do we have left now?
That was everything I had except for some reader emails, unless you had something else you wanted to add. That's what I got.
Seemed like we're missing something, no? Or no?
Yeah, I think we just didn't go down as many rabbit holes as usual today.
Explain explain the change on your 53. You put Edmonds on there. You decided just to throw out one. Push come to shove, hand to the fire. This wasn't going to be your 53, right?
That might be. I think you can make
a
compelling case for Trey Edmonds to make the 53. I have Edmonds on and Fred Johnson off. And then defensively, my change was Marcus Allen on and Jordan Dangerfield off. Or what do you think about those? Do you think they're unlikely?
I wouldn't bet my house on the whole Dangerfield Allen thing.
Okay.
So,
Allen did play over Dangerfield. Does that mean anything to you that he played way over Jordan Dangerfield?
I'm not going to read too much into it just yet. But, I am allowing the possibility. Look, of my own 53, I have Dangerfield on there. If it wouldn't surprise me if I'm wrong on one area, it might be that one,
Okay. What about with Edmonds and Fred Johnson? Because you had Trey Edmonds. You were talking. You're the one who convinced me about.
Oh,
Trey
no,
Edmonds on
no. Don't put this on me, but I will take credit if it comes through.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah. I think they're hoping Benny Snell has a good special teams day. I'll put you that way.
And he's done well on there. He's got a kick tackle and a punt tackle. But Edmonds, I think, is the better special teams player, and he can be your PP on the punt team.
What do you think about Fred Johnson in the Cincinnati Bengals uniform?
Don't feel too good about it, but they could probably use the offensive line help. Are you pulling the he might get cleaned thing on me here?
I'm just trying to troll.
So you are? Is that a yes?
I obviously don't hope that happens. I don't think he's. I mean, look, you could go around the league and there's probably 6 or 7 offensive linemen more likely, I guess. Fred Johnson, you always like your own a little bit better, right?
Right, and I think if a team was able to watch Fred Johnson start to finish, like in camp and all that, you would like him a lot more than if you just watched the games, because he has moved around so much. He's been playing like left guard. Did Fred Johnson ever play left guard in college? I don't think he ever did.
I'm trying to remember. I know he played right.
So he's like at these new uncomfortable spots where he's not playing as well, so his tape's not going to look as good because he's playing these new positions, and that probably hurts him in the eyes of pro scouts watching him. But internally, if you watched him start a right guard play while they were getting moved around, then you would probably like him more. So sometimes there's a benefit to that because teams can't see camp. They can only see games, and his game performances haven't been that great.
Yeah, the only thing in getting back to the keeping of 9 and all is, man, and I worry about this probably more than the Steelers do. He trips off he falls off while getting off the bus, or he pulls the Levi Brown and tears the what did Levi Brown tear in pregame warmups that time? Was it the tricep or
I don't know. He was here for 4 seconds.
Or pec or something like that. And,
yeah.
You just tend to think that they at a minimum would like to carry 9. However, we could go back to Mike Tomlin saying not too long ago, you try to turn the 53 into 60, position flexibility and that kind of stuff there. So,
and I'm carrying 8. So if somebody does trip off the bus, I got Banner.
Well, and they did make it a point to get Filer a lot of work outside of tackle,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much versatility on this roster that you could make it work if somebody, went down. You could figure it out.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked, but I as I sit here right now, I have no reason not to have 9. I don't think,
Yeah, 9 is very much in play. I just wanted to keep Edmonds on there, and offensive line was the most logical place for me to remove from, I thought.
Okay, shall we do some emails here as I pull up my email?
Yep, let's get to some reader emails here. And it's tomorrow's game. Cutdowns are Saturday by 4 p.m., I believe, right? So
yes.
That's when the craziness will happen. And go from 90 to 53. We'll see if they make any trades. That's been known to happen at cutdowns too, or even a couple days after cutdowns. So that's still a very fluid roster. So even once that 53 gets set, it may not be literally set in stone. We've seen this stuff kind of change within 48 hours, time and time again.
Yeah, and don't look for them to give us many clues. I know in the past we've been able to cheat off of Twitter and some players say something at all. I think they've wised up a little bit to that, and I think they hold off some, because look, I think Colbert sits there and watches the wire too, to see some of these guys move. And the Steelers are notoriously one of the last teams to have that final cut list finalized on. So we're going to be sitting here on up until the deadline, probably not knowing about 4 or 5 of the guys. Obviously we can put 2 and 2 together and get most of these guys off of there right now,
Yeah, Connor Sheehy, I'm sorry, my man. You're not making the 53.
Oh, that's cold, man. Did you?
Yeah, I know. I pick on Connor a little bit.
We could go through and easily carve off 10 right away,
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, let's get to some reader emails here. Bill Bixler writes in, Camera angle is the topic. Gentlemen, I love the show. Keep up the good work. I'm surprised that there was no mention on the Monday podcast of the camera angle from week 3. Isn't it funny? We read these and it's stuff that we just covered earlier in the show, and I know people don't know that, or else they wouldn't send emails. The camera angle from the week 3 preseason game. I saw a lot of negative comments about it. I thought it was great being able to see the coverage and routes down the field. But I might be in the minority. Yep, Bill, you, I, and Alex are in the minority. That's why we won't get this. That's why we us nerds have to keep going, wait until Wednesday. I'd feel a little bit better, Alex, if they would turn around and as soon as the game was over or within 6 hours, have us the all 22 up. But that's just not the case. We sometimes. We're letting it's actually become a game between myself, Alex, and Marksy to be the one to let the other ones know when the all 22 goes up. To be the first one to identify that. It's not going to be popular, Bill. You agree, Alex?
Yeah, I think just natural resistance to change. It is tougher to see the game in that way. So they're just testing stuff out, seeing what feedback is like. They'll go back to their regular camera angle for week 1. Yeah,
I mean, occasionally they'll probably pull this out, but you're not gonna see full games done on this anytime soon, I don't think. He says, just wondering what your thoughts were on that. We gave them to you. I've tried a couple of Steelers podcasts, but couldn't even finish an episode. You guys are the best. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no offense. There are some, I don't mean to pick on anybody in particular, but there's some bad information. Like I saw somebody say you could trade Josh Dobbs for a 3rd round pick yesterday, and I was like, and they said they wouldn't do that. And I was like, there's so much wrong here. I don't even know where to begin with that statement.
One notable beat writer said that Tuzar Skipper played special team snaps against the Titans.
And that's not true, right?
That's not true. Yeah, you got to be careful, folks. Look, we get stuff wrong too, but I mean, I guarantee you, we go through it more than most, and try to be as objectionable as possible, or subjectable. What's the word I'm looking for there?
Objective.
Objective
as possible.
Nicholas Webb writes in, hey, Dave and Alex, thanks so much for what you guys do. You're the only resource that I ever look to keep me up to date with all things Steelers. Thanks, Nick. Could you see the team only keeping 2 tight ends? I could see them keeping an extra linebacker or safety for special teams. Rosie could expand his blocking snaps, and Samuels expand his receiving snaps to make up for the lower numbers at tight end. Nick, Jalen Samuels is not a traditional tight end. I know he was listed as that and probably could be had in fantasy leagues last year as a tight end. That's not what he does. He'll occasionally line up maybe as an H-back, but I mean, a true sense of a tight end, he's never going to line up on the end of the line of scrimmage and be a blocker for you, nor is Rosie going to do that either. So you would have to go into it just thinking that you were just going to carry 2 tight ends, period, and that's just not what the Steelers usually do, right? I mean, so I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, they're keeping 3 for sure. If someone gets hurt mid-game, then you're with 1 tight end. You're limited personnel group-wise. They're keeping 3.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening. Now maybe they trim down to just 2 here and then add 1 before the week 1 game. But I don't think they're going to go into the week 1 game with just 2 on the 53. I can't remember the last time they did that. Can you?
I don't know if they ever have. I don't remember it.
All right, Andrew Luck and Bruce Arians. This one from Michael A. Carlson. He writes in, guys, how much blame do you give to Bruce Arians in the retirement of Andrew Luck? It seems to me that Arians got him destroyed just like he got Ben destroyed. Should we blame it on the line or on the Arians scheme? It seems to be a pattern that follows Arians from team to team. Thanks so much for your good work. Wasn't Bruce technically only in Indianapolis 1 season?
Is that what it was? I don't know I don't remember his history. I'm not super interested in giving around blame, but obviously you want to invest in your offensive line, and that's why the Steelers have done, and that's why Ben's still playing, and obviously that did not help Luck's situation.
Let's see. He was the offensive coordinator / interim head coach for the 2012 season.
Okay.
It's hard to put. Look, I understand, and Bruce is going to have to change something in Tampa Bay, or else Jameis Winston's going to have some good insurance, I think. Look, he's notorious for wanting the guys to go vertical, right?
Yep, for
And,
sure.
and big playing teams. I think a lot of it goes on. Who was it? Grigson?
Yeah, Ryan Grigson. Yeah, did a bad job protecting.
Just you got to put the talent in front. They've had some bad offensive lines throughout the years there. So no, I'm not going to put it all on one season on Bruce Arians there. Let's see. Jeff Berg writes in, greetings from Savannah. I lived in Savannah for 2 years, Alex. And Jeff Berg's from that neck of the woods up there. If you ever get a chance to go to Savannah, absolutely great place to go visit. And really, if you had to live there a couple years, nothing wrong with it there. My wife absolutely enjoyed it. A lot of historic aspects about there, especially downtown, Abercorn, around the squares and all like that. So consider that me being part of the Savannah, Georgia tourism department there for just a moment there. Jeff writes in, over the course of this preseason, I'm a bit concerned with the running game when Connor isn't in there. Jalen looks quicker for certain, and I'm not terribly worried about him. My concern is what I saw when Trey or Benny were out there. There simply weren't any really successful runs, save for a few short yardage gains. I know it's backup linemen in there, yada, yada, Dave style. But I've watched other teams, and it seems their second to fourth backs bust out long runs in general, look better than we've looked all preseason. Do y'all see any reason for concern? I guess that as long as the first team offensive line is out there, the run game will look fine with the 3 backs that'll be on the roster. Just stuck out to me. We look good no matter what quarterback was out there, but running back not so much.
No, I'm not worried. Like I said, the offensive line hadn't been out there a whole lot. Connor looked good. He averaged 6 yards a carry against the Titans. So no, I'm not worried.
I'm not worried. I hope we don't get into the aspect where either Trey Edmonds or Benny Snell Jr. are having to carry the ball.
Right. Remember, those guys are bigger backs. Other teams might have smaller, quicker backs. So you're not going to get the 50-yard run with Benny Snell that you might get if you're some little 180-pound scat back.
The thing, Jeff, that I'm looking for out of this running game this year is running better, more successfully at a higher percentage. And the more runs, the higher the balance will come if you're winning. Boy, these nerds, I love them, man, because they are. I don't know how much of these analytics guys you follow, Alex, but they are just slaying it, talking about the how running back the unimportance of having a balanced running game in the NFL. And now I think one of them, Ben, do you know Ben's last name? One of the analytics guys.
Natan, N-A-T-A-N. I know.
I'm drawing a blank here. I think he just put up a nice story on The Athletic about how even throwing to running backs, the new trend of throwing to running backs out of the backfield isn't overly great either. And basically, look, the running back position in today's NFL right now is severely outvalued. Now, does that mean you need to get away from the running game altogether? This is a passing league, folks. And there is no such thing anymore as, well, your running game helps your passing game. No, it doesn't. And really, play action really plays no part, in helping the other, according to the nerds as well. The thing that we're looking for out of running game is when you run, being more successful at it. A la the Rams, I'm trying to think, the Saints, I think, last year. The Steelers have got to get better in that area. They've got to make sure they're a highly successful team in the short yardage area, and late in games, should they get the opportunity to have the lead in fourth quarters, that's when you really want to see maybe a higher percentage of runs and be more successful in that area.
Yep, I agree.
The whole balance thing that the Aditi Kinkobalas and the radio, the sports disc jockeys get on Twitter and holler about, it shows their lack of knowledge for the game. Let's see here. Was that too harsh?
Well, you already said it, so.
James writes in Dobbs' observation. Is it my imagination, or does it seem like Dobbs throws better on the run under pressure than in the pocket with little to no pressure?
I get what you're saying. I mean, you look at the completion he had to, was that Trey Griffey? That was a great throw on the move. Yeah, he can make plays on the run. He can make plays within the pocket too. I mean, look at the back shoulder throw to Brandon Riley was in the pocket on a free play. So like that's not the issue. It's just that inconsistency where he can make really bad throws on the run, which was the pick that he threw on the run, or hitting Gentry or missing Gentry in the left flat from a standstill in the pocket with a clean pocket. So I mean, it's just the inconsistency overall is the issue with him.
All right, one more. This one's from a Bleezy. He writes in Chick versus Skipper, tale of the tape. Love the work you and Alex do and all the Depot content the folks do. Utilizing Pro Football Reference, the Combine, and Pro Day data for most current. He has a breakdown of Chick versus Skipper here, showing that they're fairly comparative, I guess, in their measurables and all like that. Opinion in spandex. Seems like Chick is slightly quicker, faster, while Skipper is slightly more powerful, stronger. Let the debate continue to rage as to why Skipper is getting no special teams burn. Maybe he doesn't chew gum. Lastly and quickly, rate these older school war movies for me. Shoot from the hip. Your least favorite to most favorite. FYI, I'm 30. That is a nice selection of 5 war movies, but I think I didn't make myself clear. I like the old war documentaries more so. I obviously like, some of the, Saving Private Ryan and name some of these other war movies out there. Most recently Hamburger Hill and, some of these other ones. But I'm not as much as a war movie buff as I am the old war documentaries. The actual live footage and all. So maybe I didn't. So it's unfair for me to kind of rank these 5 movies here, Bleezy, and I don't think people really care on that. Now back to the. Look, the whole debate about Skipper versus Chick. We get why everybody's mad, and Alex and I, we have no answer for you as to why, to date, Skipper's not gotten the special team snaps. So we'll see what happens in this finale. But even so, I think it's still going to be a hard path for Skipper.
Yeah, he's not going to bump Chick off. He's not going to bump Dirty Red off. And I can agree with that Skipper might be more powerful. But I don't worry about Chick's what he did at the Combine. Because first of all, at the Combine, Chick was a 270-pound defensive end. That's why he played in Miami, and he slimmed down and kind of transformed his body. So you have so much NFL tape that anything that Chick did, college or Combine or whatever, that's irrelevant at this point.
I think we hit this. Did we hit? I think we hit Lewis. His talking about only keeping two quarterbacks. So I think we're caught up on the emails there. What else do you have for us, Alex?
That's about everything. Devin Hodges practice squad. You're still saying no, even if he lights it up Thursday. You're still saying no? Just no chance?
Yeah. No chance is harsh, right? As soon as I said no chance, Landry Jones was going to get cut last year.
Yeah, right.
I think you did too, right? So we
I was wrong on that. Yeah, that's why I want to be.
We're in the same boat there. Never say never. I'll just be surprised if they keep 4 total, basically.
Yeah. And Dobbs getting moved? Any chance of Dobbs getting moved? Again, I think it's
I like the chances of that more than I do Hodges landing on a practice squad. I'll tell you that.
All right. And there was a report, I'm using air quotes here, report that the Colts were interested. That was speculation. That wasn't an actual
speculation,
report.
Right.
So I know some sites and people have run with that. That's not concrete. I mean, they could. I'm not going to say that they don't, but there's no actual evidence that they have interest in Josh Dobbs. And remember, again, with his limited resume, at best, you're getting a conditional 7th-round pick for him.
And that was Mike Clay, right, from ESPN, who's really a fantasy guy for them.
Yeah. And I think he was being clear about speculation, but people somehow interpreted that as yes, his Colts really are calling Kevin Colbert, and that's not we don't know that. That's not accurate.
No, there are no reports concrete. And look, I even speculated the other day. And speaking of which, I guess I should update the news on Josh Jones. And I'm gonna have to get a hold and see. It just goes to show you, I don't know all the answers, especially when it comes to the CBA and all. He cleared waivers and did not revert to their non-football injury list. So I don't know what has to happen sometimes for things such as the NFI or for the non-football illness, such as we had Alexander with the Steelers.
Right. Myers, not me.
Huh?
You said Alexander. I thought talking about me for a second.
Oh, no. Alexander Myers, the cornerback, get waived that way and then revert and then get an injury settlement. For some reason, Josh Jones did not revert, and he's on the street right now, at last I heard. So
can he decline that? Is that an option? Can a player decline getting sent to IR or NFI?
I don't know, Alex, and that's one of the things that I need to get a hold of Joe Corey and find out why maybe he didn't revert in that situation.
Yeah.
Because I expected him to revert and he didn't.
Right. So he's a free agent, but obviously no one put a claim on him, so the interest wasn't super high.
Right. So something's going on. I mean, look, I said it, I didn't like the way he handled his business there.
Sure.
So we'll definitely see over the next week if any team has any interest in him for sure. You would think if they did, they would have claimed him off waivers by now. The Steelers currently have $4.2 million in cap space right now, but look, you got a 52nd and 53rd guy on the roster that you need to account for. You got a 11-man practice squad that you have to account for. In short, don't get worked up over this because a Joe Hayden contract extension's coming, Alex. I just don't know when. Is it going to be tomorrow? They usually like to drop these things on a Thursday or Friday. I think will one happen before? Well, I mean, it had to happen here fairly quick before you set the practice squad. I think we'll see one here in the next couple of days with Joe Hayden.
I agree. I think within 48 hours you got a deal done with him.
And I think such a contract extension will clear up around $3 million or so in cap space as well too. Javon Hargrave, doesn't look like that's going to happen at this point. Looks like it might be Hayden, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk about Hargrave more. I want to make sure that it's not going to get done. It doesn't sound like it, but that's certainly a concern about his future in Pittsburgh. But that's a topic for another show.
And Hayden, the way he talked about it after yesterday's practice, you can read in between the lines, and he's just waiting to put pen to paper, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if players are super involved in those situations. I think they're letting the agents handle things, and he may not be, abreast of every single moment of the negotiations. But I still think it's going to get done. I mean, what reason would it not get done? Right.
And one final note here, Alex. I think going into this week, we didn't know for sure if the Steelers-Panthers preseason game would be televised or not. I was all prepared to have to watch that one online, but it is on the NFL Network schedule now. So, what do you think about all 4 preseason games technically being national coverage this year?
I think when Steelers Nation's everywhere, the NFL knows that's what's going to draw the eyes, and I think the ratings have been good, so I'm not surprised to see the Steelers get that kind of publicity.
Now, the only thing we don't know is what feed we're going to get. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know, with it being a Panthers game, we're probably going to get the Panthers feed, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be watching. I think it's still be local for me. I mean, I don't know
that's right. You'll get it local.
Yeah, but I don't know what the Game Pass replay will be like. We'll see if we get local or Carolina's feed.
All right, I think we hit it. Alex and I will be back on Friday with a recap of the preseason game. We'll talk about our final 53-man roster projections, news, notes, nuggets. Hopefully we're not talking about any injuries. Maybe we're talking about a Joe Hayden extension come that time. But regardless, we'll fill up another 90 minutes, I'm sure. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex Kozora on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. You can follow the show at Terrible Podcast. You can email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Do you like what we do? Do we amuse you? Do you like Alex better than me? Do you like me better than Alex? Do you want to donate to the cause regardless? go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar, like so many have done. Help us keep this thing supported. You'll pay for extra server cost and everything along those lines. As I said, you go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button for that. Also, if you want to help the cause and get an ad-free version of the site, go to SteelersDepot.com and hit the ad-free button. For $25 for 1 calendar year, you can have access to SteelersDepot.com without all the ads. And we appreciate all the support that we get. We appreciate all the emails. Keep them coming at us. And until Friday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.